Welcome to the Intentional Father Podcast, where us fathers parent our children, not by accident, but with intent. I'm your host, Aaron Stroman.
Season 1, Episode 1, remastered with video. If you've been following the show, you know that I originally created Season 1 with audio only. Here now we have video, so I'm going to be redoing the entire first season with video in response to the audience. So thank you for your feedback. Here we go. Integrity is the topic of today. And there's two approaches to this idea of integrity that I want to unpack. The first one is probably the idea that we all have in common, that we're all thinking about. Integrity is doing the right thing even when no one's looking. So it's this idea of having good morals, having good behavior, doing the right thing. Of course, as men, leaders of our family, as fathers, we need to be men of integrity. We don't need to end up in jail or in prison. We don't need to be behaving poorly, setting bad examples for our kids. So, of course, there's that idea of moral integrity that we need to bring to the table. But there's a second component that I'm really pulling from an ancient proverb, an ancient Hebrew proverb written by Solomon, I believe. Proverbs 20, chapter 20, verse 7 says, "The godly walk with integrity. Blessed are their children who follow them." So this idea that we need to lead by example. And as I, over the course of this podcast, bring up different techniques, different ideas, different philosophies for us to take as fathers, we have to make sure that we master those first individually before we try to bring our family along for the ride. Now, do we have to get it perfect? No, but we certainly need to be leading with integrity. For example, let's say there's an episode on conflict resolution. If we aren't resolving conflict in our own lives in a healthy way, how can we expect our children to? We don't want to be the father that says, "Do as I say, not as I do." So we need to make sure that we are that we have the integrity. There's this essence within us where we can therefore go on and guide our children appropriately. Another example might be finances. So I might propose some ideas. When I talk about finances, I'm going to be talking about being generous with your money. I'm going to be talking about saving your money, a zero balance budget, managing your money well, investing your money. And it would be very easy for you to try to teach your children this fundamental, very healthy idea on finances. But men, if you aren't managing your own finances the right way, you need to focus on yourself first before you bring your children along. So that idea of integrity, you're going to hear me reference back integrity. Of course, we got to start with ourselves, and then we can lead our families. We have to be men of integrity. We have to lead by example. And here's a beautiful part of fatherhood. When you have these mini-me's, these little humans that resemble you, that are made up of, half their DNA is coming from you, the other half from their mom, there's this new responsibility, and there's nothing else like parenting that helps you grow up. Part of that process is now we may consider some things and go, "Oh my goodness, I haven't been really great in that area of my life, but I want my kids to flourish there. Now I have something to focus on." So the idea of marrying fatherhood with self-improvement, self-development is huge. We can become better men by becoming better fathers. And the better fathers we are, the better our children are going to turn out. So it's a beautiful way to look within and really ask yourself the question, how can I become a better person through this process? This podcast was interesting. What do I need to do within myself before I start implementing that in my children? And that's an okay thing to do. You may even get to the point where you're just really open and honest with your kids and saying, hey, I heard this podcast on finances. I want to start teaching you guys finances. And I realized I need to tighten up my own finances. Let's do this together. So that admission of like, hey, I don't have this figured out, but we can work on it together because I want you to be financially successful. I know you want me to be financially successful. So let's jump in this together as a family and figure it out. That's an okay thing to do. And in fact, I would say on an integrity level, that's way better than trying to pretend like you have it all figured out, because eventually your family, your children are going to see right through that. So just be honest about it. There have been many episodes that I've recorded and I've drifted away from it. Maybe it was a practice I was utilizing in the younger years of my children's lives. And as I've developed this podcast, I realized like, oh, I need to make sure I do that. And it brings it back up on my radar. I take it from the back burner, put it on the front burner. And again, that process is good. That's okay. Let's let this podcast be that tool that sharpens us. So that's my commitment to you. I hope you have the same commitment. But I had to start off the podcast with this idea of integrity because it precedes all else. So blessings on you and your fatherhood endeavors. May integrity go before us all. May we lead with integrity. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. God bless.